Meredith.
But that's my name.
I know! You told me I can be whoever I want! And I chose you!
But I'm me.
Sorry, you're already taken.
So much destruction. This YouTuber asks why. Local consensus places the blame on this negligent, selfish CIA man and his pet alien, or whatever the heck he is, I don't know. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad. Or more specifically, Roger. It's been a while since I made a top 10 list. I have a life. No, Roger is okay, you know what? I just want to jump right into it, okay? We have a lot to cover, so we're gonna go over the top 25 worst things Roger has ever done, starting with...
I know it doesn't look like much, but...
Oh, you muggles. You wouldn't understand how these things work.
Why don't you go bang on the door real hard, let them know you're here.
Lávate las manos. Now cállate la boca, I have an entry to do. Roger and Steve are at the carnival one day when they meet Eartha Kitt cosplaying as a fortune teller. She tells Steve that he's special, and he rubs it in Roger's face.
You are special. I see it.
Steve, she's just repeating whatever you say.
You're just jealous because I'm special and you're not. You're boring and regular.
Out of revenge, Roger decides to make Steve think he got accepted to Hogwarts, when really, he's getting him sent to work at a crack house.
It says I've been admitted to Hogwarts School of Wizardry. The gypsy was right. I am special.
And here I was, thinking you were just a gullible idiot.
While Steve gets harassed by his quote-unquote professors, and Roger pockets the money he makes making drugs. A small moment that doesn't really get dwelled on.
Lávate las manos.
Lávate las manos.
Lávate las manos.
Las manos.
Lávate las manos.
But at least Roger got karma since Steve brings the quote-unquote science equipment home for extra credit, and he gets beaten up by the dealers.
Oculus Reparo.
You put him up to this.
I'll save you, Roger. Lávate las manos.
Huh?
Honestly, I don't really know what else to say. I just needed a 25th spot, so here we go. I guess it kind of sucks he roped Steve into this, but hey.
Well, I have a little news about him. And tomorrow, Sydney, I'll destroy the last, most irreplaceable thing in your life. Your possessions!
How the hell does Sydney end up on every frickin' list I make? I don't choose to, it just happens. One day out of the blue, Roger learns that his credit card got denied, and somehow there's a co-signer in his account, Sydney Huffman, who used it to make a big purchase, which means Roger can't just buy whiskey and a modern bride.
Sydney Huffman.
Co-signer? I never authorized a co-signer!
Sir, I can't have you lying on the floor and making phone calls.
Now, it's very possible that the bank made a mistake, but it's also equally possible that Roger is being scammed by a real dude. Well, it's complicated. Roger discovers that Sydney is a real dude, and he decides to get revenge by ruining Sydney's life in response. When really, as somebody who has been through something like this, Roger could just tell his credit card company that there's a scam or something, or that he got hacked, then get a new credit card and wait for the balance to fall off. Roger discovers that Sydney's life is perfect and idyllic and basically somewhere that's green from Little Shop of Horrors. He has a loving girlfriend named Judy Panowitz, he's a charming Bible salesman, and he always minds his manners. Again, it's very possible a mistake was made, and maybe by contacting Sydney, he could sort it out. Maybe a scammer even stole Sydney's identity. Ever think of that? But no, Roger goes through various lengths to ruin Sydney's life, like getting him fired, essaying his garden, turning his pigeon friends into chicken fingers, and worst of all, trying to destroy his possessions in a fire. Of course, some of this could be mitigated by the fact that Sydney isn't a real person. Technically, he's just Roger, basically stuck in a fugue state. But Roger did not know that at the time, and he was 100% willing to ruin somebody's life when, like I said, there were better ways around it. So, Miles.
You give me code now! 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 Cody now! 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 Yeah.
It's terrible we've been spoiled by streaming, and it's weird that I haven't gotten to this one yet. I actually really do like this episode. Roger wants to watch a Barbra Streisand pay-per-view special. I never got to try pay-per-view, where it's Barbra Streisand singing Celine Dion's hits.
$5 for Barbara does Celine? $499.
Forget it. I wouldn't pay that much to see Barbara do Celine.
Unfortunately, because it's pay-per-view, which sounds strangely similar to pay-per-view as in printer paper, well that means it costs a ton of money that Stan rightfully refuses to pay, and he hides the pay-per-view function behind a code system. For Roger, this is something he can't stand for, because he had a whole night plan. He was going to eat ortolan, which is a real food if highly illegal. I really want to try it though.
French delicacy. It's so sinfully decadent that you eat it under a napkin to hide your sin from God. And I only trust you to cook it.
And he was going to have a robe and perfume ready, but Stan just had to ruin it. So because Stan is away with Steve for the weekend at a country club doing a Vietnam War reenactment, well, Roger decides to join in on the fun by kidnapping Stan and torturing him into giving up the code via a highly racist routine.
Rise guy, huh?
Roger, stop! I'm never gonna give you that pay-per-view code.
We see.
Oh, of course, now we can add racism to the list. What is with Roger and being, like, Asian? Like, that's his most common one that he makes fun of. Like, I don't know why. Like, one of his first personas was the Chinese delivery man. Or there was him with the lover's quarrel guy, whose name I cannot remember because I'm, like, improving this part. But beyond that, Roger tortures Stan in a variety of ways. Mostly by forcing him to listen to a script reading.
Carrie, VO. Samantha's story made me wonder, if I slipped, would Big be there to catch me?
Stan, if you give him the code, you can cut to 3 weeks earlier when you were alive, but in the end, this does work. He gets the code, and he gets his concert.
4812.
4812? Wait, he used my pants size? I'm disgusting.
And Stan gets freed, but has to deal with Steve dealing with PTSD, so he would sing the national anthem better.
Damn it! Stan gave me a fake code. Well, good thing I still have him tied up. And you know I still have my funny hat and shirt.
At least Roger won.
Well, he's gonna learn that he's messing with the wrong muchacho. Ow, stub my toe, stub my toe, stub my toe, stub my toe, stub my toe. Worst part's over, worst part's over, worst part's over.
This is why I will never write a book. Well, that and I also don't have the time. My Beetlejuice fanfics are just for me. They're not gross, it's just like he helps sleep paralysis demons or he goes to McDonald's or something stupid like that. Steve is failing English because he isn't inspired to write anything, but his teacher offers him the chance to do some extra credit. And here comes Roger, drunkenly stumbling in.
Oh, Roger drops expensive vases just like us. Oh, Roger starts to black out just like...
You know, because I get drunk to run one of my panels, my new name, in addition to Mama Kitty, is Kitty Drunk. Thank you for the fan who called me that. I have many names. Steve writes a book about Roger being a drunken slob, and it gets published. But while Roger revels in his newfound stardom, well, he never actually read the book. And when he does, he has some complaints.
Roger the clumsy alien. Roger who sips his silly juice and goes on delusional rants. And it's not silly juice, it's necessary juice.
It's true, Roger. I need my necessary juice to run a good panel. Roger hates Steve, and when Steve emancipates himself from Stan and Francine, Roger sneaks over, intending to kill him, just because he wrote a book about him that he doesn't like.
Oh, this should all be mine. I mean, not this color scheme. God, this bust of Ben Stiller is hideous. But it should be mine!
Now, as a writer myself, I have a complicated relationship with this, since I do think most, if not all, writers take from their lives in some way, shape, or form. Plus, we all tend to insert ourselves into our own work at least a little bit. But when it comes to inserting real people into our works, well, I think it massively depends. Well, for me, most of the time, it's usually because you just get inspired to do a good idea. It doesn't say anything about what you think of them as a person. For me, I might do that, like I might write about how I think about somebody as a person, but I'll do it for something personal I don't intend to publish or show anybody but myself, just to help work on my writing skills. Plus, honestly, somebody might not use your name on a bad character because they hate you and they want the whole world to know, because honestly, unless it seems really on the nose, nobody is really gonna know. They might just like how that name sounds, or sometimes you name a character before you intend to, like as a placeholder, and unfortunately it sticks. dicks. You ever wonder why The Good Place has so many different guys named Doug? With this case, while I can get Roger being angry, the thing is, nobody is going to know that the Roger in the book is Roger the alien. Since nobody knows aliens exist, they assume Roger is like a cartoon character, and nobody knows Roger is an alien. Steve could probably just tell somebody like, oh yeah, I was inspired to write this because of my friend, and most if not everybody will just leave it at that. But Roger doesn't care about any of this. He decides Steve must pay the ultimate permanent price, and he will via getting pushed into a pool of cherry jello.
Die, Dream Stealer! Ah! I killed Steve! Ah! Ah!
He can't just eat his way out. Thankfully, Roger did not push the real Steve. He instead pushed Steve's doppelganger, who was going to play him in a film adaptation of the book, but he did still fully intend to kill his best friend over a book. He can't just sue him for slander, and when he feels bad about it, the bloodlust is never truly solved, considering the ending.
Oh, did I tie that to Steve's ankle? Guess I'm clumsy like he wrote in the book. How do you like that ending, Steve?
Hilarious, but yeah.
I clearly have no choice. I have to kill Terry.
You're gonna kill who?
You heard me? Now you have to die too.
Wow, this poor kid. Now, I've gone on record to say that outside of the joke of Roger fingering Stan, and the implication he's done it so much that Stan just treats it like Roger's riding his bike in the street, I kind of dislike this episode just because of what it does to Greg and Terry. And in a way, retroactively makes Stan, aka the conservative homophobe, seem right for the wrong reasons about abducting Libby, even though Surrogate went on about how gay couples can raise children as well as straight couples. But there is another reason. Now, when I make these lists, I like to include full-on episodes, because I think that makes the worst things stand out more. But not so much here. See, Roger feels like his life is uncultured, whereas Greg and Terry, they have the best life. Because they meet his criteria, he decides to go live with them by posing as Michael, their newly adopted Russian son. The problem? Roger kind of had to take care of the adopted son because he was going to arrive one way or the other.
Well, what are you going to do when the actual Russian kid shows up?
Oh, I took care of that.
Извините, здесь туалет.
Right here, honey.
I think what's worse is we never hear from that kid again, because obviously he's dead. Like, I've heard some people say this could have been a really good brick joke. Like, Michael's body falls from the sky and Terry thinks he killed him in order to get Roger off the hook. But, I guess it would probably be weird. When really, there's a lot they could have done instead. Like, just canceling the adoption via one of his personas, or keeping Michael trapped in the attic or on the plane, or making him switch lives with him or something. Why did you have to kill a kid? An innocent child? Still, the fact that Roger killed an innocent child never comes up again. Probably because, in a way, he saved that kid from a life worse than death. Greg and Terry turn out to be highly controlling parents who force Michael, aka Roger, into giving up his accent and his language, probably at a time when he's still speaking Russian, because on the plane, Michael was only speaking Russian.
Michael, we're happy you're here, but you're gonna have to lose the nasty accent. It's nasty, nasty.
Sure, no problem. How's this?
I told you he'd be a genius!
The trick to parenting is patience.
And he also has to sleep on a super uncomfortable bed.
Snuggly.
Well, he also has a life plan, kind of like the mom from The Prince, that they expect him to follow, like going to Dartmouth or knowing conversationalist Japanese.
Yep, I'm going to Dartmouth. Dartmouth fight song. Dartmouth fight song. Those words probably aren't right, but I got a 50-50 shot the tune's dead on.
But much to Roger's shock, Terry turns out to be not as cultured as he thought, since he keeps various secrets from Greg, like that he eats junk food or he licks lazy boys.
Just to teach him a lesson, we should get one of those chairs.
What?
You're kidding, right?
Well, we'd buy it ironically, of course. And since it's my idea, I'd sit in it most of the time.
Which, even if I do dislike this episode, I do think Terry, being the least cultured of the two, is pretty in character. Terry is always Terry's the more worldly of the pair, I guess you could say. Like, he was the one who went to a club, or he didn't like the log cabin Republicans. So it makes sense he isn't as quote-unquote cultured. Again, Greg, got to hang out with Morgan Freeman and Ellie Wiesel. But because Terry turns out to be a completely different person, well, Roger decides he must pay for it with his own life. Because he can't just tell Greg his leverage. I guess the morality isn't all that one-sided, since Terry was totally willing to kill his newly adopted preteen son just because he wasn't ready to tell his partner what he did. So, yeah, this will be low-ranked.
Bad man remind me of caretaker at orphanage who touch us with rake.
Oh, Michael. Accent.
Look at little Stevesy sleep. You snooze, you lose.
Very classic. It's probably the first time Roger is actually doing a bad thing that's portrayed as evil like he would do in the later seasons. Francine tells Roger there's one last cookie, but he isn't quick enough, and Steve steals it.
You snooze, you lose.
You snooze, you lose, huh? Okay. Eat up. Eat up.
Roger wants revenge, and an opportunity presents itself, inspired by the A-plot.
Why wasn't I in any of those old family videos?
Well, that's because all the footage was taken before you were adopted.
What are you talking about? I'm not adopted.
No, of course not. That'd be silly. You look just like your dad.
And Roger is very committed to this bid. He even goes as far as to burn all of Steve's baby pictures to destroy any proof that he wasn't really adopted.
This must be very painful for you.
In the cherry on top, he finds a random kid that went missing years ago and tells Steve that he's that kid and that Francine and Stan kidnapped him.
All these years, we never gave up hope.
Gotcha! Those aren't your parents. That's for taking my cookie, remember? You snooze, you lose.
He takes Steve to visit the grieving family and everything, dressed up like a little sailor in his little suit.
That is awesome! You so got me!
Thanks. Yeah, there were a couple times when I didn't think you were buying it.
Hey, I'm in a sailor suit!
At least he was cool with it, but what the hell happened to that kid? Oh, and at the episode's end, he implies he's gonna do something similar to Haley.
Have you thought about your favor?
I did some favors today.
Oh, she sure did. Shaking up medicine at the old folks' home. We all did it.
Wow, so much on this list I have yet to get to. We're just barely scratching the surface of the show, aren't we? In School Lies, Steve's school is being fumigated, so Steve is sent to a private school in the meantime. This was before 2020. He can't just go on the joking lie that is remote learning. The private school is attended by a rich senator's daughter named Cookie. What kind of a name even is that? I mean, my parents didn't name me Hamburger, even though I wish they did. Said senator is huge in the CIA, and he hands out favors like hotcakes and all kinds of promotions. So Stan tries to get Steve to befriend Donut here, but Steve hates the school and he runs away. Instead, Stan has Roger disguise himself as Steve and go in his place.
I'm already having a good day because you called me son. Now give me a kiss. Kiss me on the lips, Dad. I want that kind of relationship with you.
At school, Roger and Biscotti hit it off, all because they bond over their favorite mutual thing, drugs and cocaine.
So, Cookie, do you like ponies?
No. I'm almost 16.
Oh, so what do you like?
Cocaine and stuff.
Yay!
Oh, that's why the senator is always chaperoning her to school and picking her up. Like, you assumed, he'd have somebody else doing that. And here my stupid ass thought it was for plot reasons, or because they probably live in DC and Langley is, really far away. The pair go on a wild bender that ends with Roger, to quote him, screwing the pooch. Since he owed money to a gang of drug dealers, and since he didn't want to go outside, get fresh air, and then get shot in the head, well, he sold them tater tot casserole over there, who was too strung out to object. Well, at least he got a good plumber out of it.
I'll sell you the girl for $300, plus $1.35 for the bus. Oh, and the name of a plumber I can trust at my house when I go to work. I'm asking everybody.
Not an excuse. Thankfully, Stan and Roger are able to rescue Gingerbread, but per Roger, she's basically on death's door.
How do we sober her up?
Oh, we don't. She is strung out, but she's a heavy user with a massive tolerance, so she might pull it together. She also might die.
You know, sometimes I wonder if Roger just plain doesn't care, or if because he's an alien, he doesn't experience highs the same way we do, so what would be an overdose to us would just be like a normal high to him. Fun to wonder. Still, I guess some of this could be mitigated by the fact that the senator knows full well that Ladyfingers has a drug problem, to the point where he basically has Narcan on standby, but he doesn't do anything about it because he's too busy, and because something like sending her to rehab would make him look bad. But Roger did not know that at the time, and once again, Pop-Tart is a teenager. Those guys could have done God knows what to her. Like, they do say like, oh, she's mine. Like, what the hell does that mean? I mean, I assume they would probably just ransom her to her dad, but holy crap.
Stefan Urkel! Even Steven! Steven to Stever! Steven, pick up the phone! Hi, calling for Steven Smith? Hello, Steve. This is the girl that you like.
Wow, Roger does a lot of bad in this episode, and you just laugh at it, you monsters. Roger has opened up a gym in the attic, and his new persona for the week is a personal trainer. He tries to get Steve to sign up for a membership through any means necessary, but Steve constantly refuses, which I understand. Gyms seem tempting, but they're not really my thing. And come on, most gyms are counting on most people not going because then they get money for you basically doing nothing. Well, as weird as it might seem, I have a life, and sorry if going to the gym once a week wouldn't fit in. One way Roger tries to bribe Steve is by buying him an answering machine, God I'm old, where through a series of voice messages, Steve learns that Roger committed vehicular manslaughter. He goes to a courthouse to be convicted of that. He also shot up a courthouse just because he was told to get off his phone.
Hey, I'm at the courthouse. I'm not supposed to have my phone. 3 people died in that accident. They're saying it's my fault, but it's total crap.
What'd you say to me? Someone's going berserk at the courthouse, shooting everybody up!
And likely a whole slew of other nonsense, because Steve skipped over a bunch of that, plus he was probably also held in contempt of court, all to get Steve to sign up for a trial membership, which likely isn't Roger manipulating Steve, this is just him on an average day. In the end, it works, and Steve signs up for a membership.
Great, let's get started. Medicine ball! Yeah, feel that burn.
But when he gets there, he learns that the gym has been converted into a Chinese restaurant, which actually looks kind of delicious, like it's making me hungry. And Steve has been promoted to bicycle delivery boy.
Bicycle! Wow!
What happened to the gym?
Oh, Chinese restaurant, much more profitable.
But I paid for a month membership.
Which makes you wonder if Roger just got bored of running a gym and found that a Chinese restaurant was a lot more fun, or more profitable, or easier to run, or, and this is my personal idea, if the plan all along was to get Steve to be his bicycle delivery boy. Since, as he says, the contract Steve signed has a stipulation that if the gym turns into a Chinese restaurant, he gets promoted to bicycle delivery boy.
Oh, so sorry. You don't read fine print on contract. In event gym turned to Chinese restaurant, you bicycle delivery boy.
I understand Steve's pain. There's no way I would ever ride a bicycle.
A what?
A bicycle.
A what?
A bike-cycle.
A what?
I'm not gonna do this all day.
How about next time you bring your A game?
Reversing this is a 2-man job, Stan. Hey, no, stop. You get my insides dirty. Stan!
Okay, I don't know if I said it before, but while I do like the arc of Jeff being lost in space, well, my biggest problem is Roger doesn't really get any karma or punishment for it. Like, I get it, nobody really cared that Jeff went missing beyond Haley, but I am upset he gets, like, no consequences outside of having to birth Jeff. And even that wasn't to make it up to him and Haley. But the longest distance relationship, yeah, that's pretty bad for me. I'm sure by now you all know the story of millionaire Matt Davis, a man born with a weird name because his mother had high hopes for him, and now he's a nice philanthropist who Haley almost marries. And Haley gave him up to wait for Jeff when he said he had a wormhole. But because of how wormholes work, 2 seconds to Jeff is like 40 years to us. Well, it also gets worse. 1, Roger starts the episode off celebrating the anniversary of Jeff's disappearance via a cake from the cake boss guy.
Then she should come look at this, cause he's right here. Francine, I maxed out your credit card to hire Buddy Velastro from Cake Boss to make this.
Who, speaking as a Jersey native, stop going there, his cakes suck. It's not fresh, it's just freeze-dried and overpriced and made in a frickin' warehouse, and he pays his employees next to nothing. But that is besides the point. In the future, Jeff runs into Roger, who tries to get out of responsibility by claiming he's changed.
Roger. You sent me into space!
I know. I owe you a fairly substantial apology, Jeff. But I'm a changed man.
Because he adopted 2 black boys and learned to be a good dad and a good person by raising them. How did he come into possession of these boys?
Who I adopted after their mother, the love of my life, died in a car accident.
We know he backed over our mom, but he's been a real good driver since then.
That way. Near the episode's end, Jeff tells Haley to move on, and she decides to go steady with millionaire Matt Davis, who wants to take Haley on a trip around the world. But Roger, yeah, you know he still hit that woman and everything. You know, the woman with the 2 kids? So he kills millionaire Matt Davis so there won't be any witnesses, because clearly Haley doesn't count.
I guess today I get to try out being an angel.
Roger, you idiot. Is it because he rejected you when you were Ramona Regina?
Younger, also single daughter, Ramona?
Hi, I'm Regina.
You should get hit by a bus.
Don't panic. I'm just keeping you down there until I can fix things. Roger! And I got your food. Sunfresh chips, right?
Considering the episode closure, I don't think there's one Smith that Roger hasn't grown up touched, and with Steve being a minor, yeah, that is pretty worrisome, especially considering what he did as Alicia Wilkner. But kissing Francine, that crosses a line. Roger and Stan have recently become bestest friends due to bonding via getting stuck in an elevator. Stan's trust in Roger ends up being so great that he allows Roger to go with Francine on a wine tasting venture. The thing is, well, Roger and Francine both get drunk, and Roger drunkenly kisses Francine, which is a good idea for an episode.
Roger!
What?
God! Why did you do that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean...
Already this would be list-worthy, but something worse happens. See, Francine wants to tell Stan what happened, which I agree with. I don't think Stan would care because, like Roger points out, he wasn't acting on any pent-up romantic feelings. It was just a drunken slip-up and a stupid mistake, and it's good to just come out and say it instead of letting it be a secret that festers.
We'll put it behind us and hopefully Stan will understand.
Whoa, I betrayed him.
Roger, I've got to be upfront with him.
Oh, like he was when he didn't tell you he was a nice dancer?
But Roger is afraid that Stan will no longer want to be his best friend, that he goes through many insane lengths to ensure that Francine won't spill the beans. The worst of it being that he buries her alive, aka one of my worst fears. That way she can't tell Stan when he comes over.
Maybe you do too, huh? Now we both have a little time to think. Thinking's good. Thinking's what rational people do.
And when Stan is there and Francine can't talk to him because she's busy slowly suffocating to death, he tells her that Francine basically cheated on him.
Stan, this is crazy! He kissed me, and then he buried me alive!
Good try. We know you had a mud bath.
In my clothes?
Yeah.
All to protect his secret when, like I said, Stan probably would have appreciated the honesty a bit more. Of course, Stan's mind jumps to the idea of divorce, and I'll give Stan credit. His first thought was the family and how this would affect them, even though I am of the opinion that you don't stay together for the kids, since he was upset he'd have to tell Steve and Haley that the parents were splitting up. But Roger doesn't care that he's potentially ruining a family. He only cares because if Stan and Francine get divorced, he'll have to sell the house, meaning Roger would lose his attic.
And the house? We'll have to sell the house?
It's just stuff, man. Things.
Which means no more attic for you.
Beg pardon?
I mean, where will you live? This affects everyone.
Because he's the most important person in this whole conflict. So he tells Stan the secret after burying him alive. That way, he can't beat the crap out of him.
But it didn't mean anything. It was just a drunken slip-up.
Damn it, Roger! Get me the hell out of here!
I'm just gonna give you some time to cool off.
I'm gonna rip your head off!
Okay, so you need more time.
Coward. I will say though, on the bright side, I like how Roger actually gets karma, since Stan does go through with beating up Roger and taking back his best friend necklace, because he's not a best friend. He's a pet alien, I imagine.
Who do you think we're talking about? Little John Tanner? One of the least influential politicians in Nevada?
I represent the good people of Winnemucca.
To be fair, for this whole list, I tried not to include any personas, simply because at times the personas can be their own people independent of Roger, and I guess if I have to include one, I have to include all. But outside of Ricky Spanish, who I did not include, I guess one or two won't hurt. To me, Bert Jarvis is one of the worst Roger personas he has ever used, because he used it for selfish reasons, and unlike Ricky or Dudley Dingleberry, he knew full well what he was doing. As Bert Jarvis, Roger is a politician for a small town in Nevada, but he didn't become a politician to help people, he did it for free alcohol.
You see, in Nevada, senators eat free at casino buffets, but it does not include drinks, so I abandoned the character.
Understandable, I mean, like politician, but Roger, you still have a job to do. You don't get to just run away. One day, out of the blue, Roger learns that his people are getting sick, and he wants nothing to do with this looming scandal.
What a story! If we see him, we'll tell him.
He's a politician, makes sense. But he's implored by Steve to go to Nevada and help the residents. They discover the town's water supply is being polluted by a big company called Tetraduel, and that's what's making everybody sick. But when they go to confront the CEO, they discover, well, oh my god, it's gonna be Roger, isn't it?
We've got him.
I should have seen this coming.
Why's that?
Because I'm the CEO of Tetraduel.
Called it. Roger decides to help the people by shutting down Tetraduel. The only problem is, because Tetraduel was also his biggest donor, well, he can't be re-elected, even though I feel like a stunt like this would be more than enough PR to get the people on his side to donate, so he forms a new company, which will likely continue to pollute Nevada, and he throws his weight behind another politician who we met at the start of the episode who doesn't care about that sort of thing, which will probably go about as well as you will expect. I don't care. That's all the way out in Nevada, and I'm in New Jersey, and they're in Virginia. That's why, next entry.
You start Monday.
No, I'm gonna start right now. Why didn't I open with that? I knew I was gonna do it.
Roger gets nerve-wracked when he talks to waiters too. Well, sorry if I have to rehearse my order mentally beforehand, and I still get nervous. Roger and Haley are eating at this restaurant that's white and chrome. Why is it white and chrome? Everything's white and chrome in the future. What are you talking about, Catherine? This episode came out like in 2016. God, I'm old. Wow, I really need to catch up with the show. But they're eating at the restaurant, and the waitress compliments Haley's order. Well, Roger just gets a nod. A freaking nod. Oh my goodness, how awful. I bet she probably drowns puppies in her spare time.
How could she compliment your order and not mine?
Did she?
Mine was inspired. She should have said great order to me.
Maybe she sensed that you were gonna make me pay.
Of course you're paying.
Well, rewatching this scene, I think it's because Haley was super nervous. She didn't really appear confident about her order, and the waitress was probably trying to be nice and reassure her, like, oh, don't worry, honey, your order is cool. Whereas Roger, he knew just what he wanted, so he didn't need that extra compliment. To the waitress, at least, he was fine, I guess you could say. Plus, there's the possibility that because Roger was so confident, maybe the waitress thought he was a regular, or maybe he really is. I don't know, I'm spitballing here. But the thing is, well, we're all aware that jealousy is usually derived from feeling inferior or insecure, which totally does not describe Roger at all. He is the most confident person in that whole house next to Klaus. Hey, that rhymes. Roger and Haley go back the next day with new personas to switch up their orders and see if the waitress compliments his. And she still doesn't. So he just comes out and asks.
The duck with pear mostarda and a glass of Prosecco.
Oh, great order.
No, absolutely no. Why did you tell her she had a great order?
Again, I think confidence was a big thing. If he appeared more nervous, I feel like she'd probably be like, oh, good choice. Since Haley was still nervous when she made her order. Just saying, I'm somebody who interacts with a lot of people, and because I can be super shy and socially awkward myself, well, I tend to do compliments or be like, you're okay, since I know how it can be. And I know how if I just say like, oh, nice shirt, that really means a lot to you. And hey, I usually do think it's a nice shirt. I'm being really honest with my compliments. Hey, if it makes me feel better, maybe it'll make you feel better. But this ain't over for Roger, not by a long shot. He tracks down the waitress on her date to a new restaurant. He gets a job at that same restaurant just so he can take her order. He compliments the order of her date, but then this happens.
That is a great order. A great order. And you? Tough order to follow. bed-shitting potential is high.
Oh no, how terrible. In exchange, Roger decides to scalp her. And that's not a joke, he literally does. He literally runs out of the restaurant holding a knife and part of her hair. All because she did not compliment his order.
Same as him! Same as him, my ass! You knew exactly the game we were playing!
And that's it, really. I guess the lesson here is don't try to be good to your customers because they'll always find some fault with you. Surprised they haven't done a Karen persona yet with Roger. He would fit right in.
I'm sorry. It's over. But it's not you. You know that, right? It's not you. It's your body.
Now, have you ever tried to learn a skill but just didn't get it? I hope you didn't bet your soul, and not your Kia soul. Kitty, just move on, please. You're giving me a headache. Roger's at a coffee shop one day when he sees a man playing guitar and he heckles him, which is extremely rude. He's already off to a bad start. But the man, whose name is Jamal...
Your name's Jamal? But you're white.
So?
Is this really the first time you've had this conversation? Come on, Jamal.
Tells Roger that guitar actually requires a lot of skill, and he bets Roger that they should have a battle of the bands, and the loser shall never show up in the coffee shop again. Of course, Roger could just throw the match and return under a new persona. Nobody would be the wiser, and there's nothing stopping him, but this is Roger we're talking about. So he does try to honestly learn how to play the guitar, but he fails miserably. I mean, his fingers probably look all cut up, and he'll do anything to get back at Jamal, even sell his soul to the literal devil, even if he's told by said literal devil that he'll be allowed to play the guitar better than anyone, but the devil gets to own his soul, a la Cuphead.
You're making what is called a Faustian bargain, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because you don't sound like you understand the gravity of the ironic price.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I really have to crush this punk at the coffee shop.
Of course, yes, Roger does bet his soul, and he does win, but there's the matter of payment, so he gets Jamal to cover his fees. Poor Jamal, and for me, again, it gets worse when you remember that Roger didn't have to do this, even if he lost. He could have just went there the next day and say Sidney Huffman or Max Jets, and he would have been fine. But no, he just had to take the long way out because of course he did.
Look into my glowing red eyes and become bound to me.
You've already got me.
Yes, but Steve is better.
Do you want to know why I included this entry? Because I met Mr. Javits and I glanced at his glowing red eyes and I became bound to him forevermore. Roger is working as a caretaker at a dying mall, and the head of the mall is Mr. Javits, who has been gone for 25 years in order to find a new anchor tenant. Steve goes to work there during the summer, and he's able to help get the mall back in order by having a food truck festival. The whole time, he keeps trying to break it to Roger that Mr. Javits basically abandoned the place.
Mr. Javits abandoned the mall, and he abandoned you.
You don't know that. You don't know him. Please stop saying 25 years.
But as it turns out, Mr. Javits is a real person, who isn't a real person. He's a warlock, and Roger has been his thrall for decades, since he's pretty much in love with Mr. Javits.
Years ago, I looked into Mr. Javits' glowing red eyes, and I've been doing his heinous bidding ever since. And I never looked back, unless I was bid to.
Aww. But Mr. Javits doesn't return the affection because of course he doesn't.
I'm gonna do this for you, but before I go, could I maybe just look into your glowing red eyes for like 1 second?
Maybe later, dude.
Totally get it. Keep on rocking.
Rude. Mr. Javits reveals that the mall is a living being that feeds every 25 years on the souls of the people trapped there. And that because Steve got all of those people there, they'll be trapped in the mall forever and forced to work at the stores until their souls fade and they turn into mannequins. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. We see how big the warehouse is with all of those dang mannequins. That's how many people that Roger and Mr. Javits have implicitly trapped.
With so many stores closing, we've got a lot of mannequins lying around. You find any Lucy's, you throw them in here. Steve, her dead flesh-colored eyes are up here.
I guess Roger doesn't technically do anything bad this time around, but the fact he was totally willing to assist Mr. Javits and implicitly knew what he did in spite of the glowing red eyes is actually pretty dark when you start to think about it, and like how he just turns a blind eye to everything. Sorry, Roger. I like malls and I hate condos, but maybe this is the one time I make an exception.
You better get it. I'm getting it, and I'm dealing with some serious wig problems. Why can't they make a good red wig? I look like Garfield had a miscarriage on my head.
Viewers, I have not been entirely truthful with you. One of Roger's little pleasures in life is his collection of wigs, as much like cornbread from RuPaul, they help him be his true self, but he always has problems with finding a decent red wig. However, let's put a pin in this. Roger and Francine are getting ready to compete in a dance competition, but when they get there, they discover there is no competition. It's really a funeral for Roger's ex-wife.
Why is everybody staring at us?
Maybe because we're at a funeral and you got your taters out?
See, as Roger explains,
died wasn't exactly a friend. She was my ex-wife.
What?
Unfortunately, I left her when she was terminally ill.
And he has no remorse or nothing and just insults all of his grieving in-laws, including his now orphaned stepson.
Vincent was my stepson for a brief time. How's online college, Vincent? You a court reporter yet?
But Roger claims there's a reason they went there beyond just rubbing it in their faces that Francine has mommy milkers, even if mine are clearly the best, hence my nickname of Mama Kitty. But anyways, Roger tells Francine he was honoring her last wishes to be buried at sea, which is real sweet.
I'm not doing that!
Look, her folks want her buried in the family plot, but she told me her final resting place should be in water. Shelby Lake was where we went on our first date.
Yeah, he hasn't been entirely truthful. As it turns out, Roger wasn't being sweet. He just wanted her hair, so he could turn it into a wig.
I don't really know where she wanted to be buried. Hell, I don't even remember her name. But one thing I do remember is her hair. I told her that no one makes a decent red wig these days, so I had to go find my own.
So, let me tell you what Roger did if you didn't get it. He married a sick woman who he probably didn't love and treated her poorly, including her son and her relatives, just so he could steal her hair when she passed. And then, at her funeral, he rubbed it in everybody's face that he was alive and she wasn't, and then he grave robbed her, and then he threw her body into the water like she was trash, just so he could steal her hair, because he clearly can't just buy a better one. And he lied to Francine that there was a dance competition, also she would be a willing accomplice. All to get a good wig. Yeah, Franny did justice by throwing him into a pit.
Who are you talking to? Is it Dylan? Keep your paws off him!
Your crush hates the mall.
Hates the mall? It's not Dylan. We're resetting.
Wow, and I thought Vizzarolli had the worst stalkers. At 25, I believe myself to be quite old. Heck, I'm the second oldest in my cohort. The oldest kid is like 35. But I always remember that, at times, I am quite young, because I never got to play Dream Phone, or whatever the game it's based on. I don't know if Dream Phone is the correct name. Told you, sometimes I'm young, but I do know how the game works. The game is that through random details, a random boy will like you, I suppose. I'm just going off context clues. Just watch the episode, okay? Haley convinces Roger to play, and while bored at first, he finds fun in Dylan, one of the boys in the game, who likes pizza and the mall, and apparently likes him back.
Dream come true. I'd sing you the second verse, but it gets pretty explicit.
But the thing you need to remember is that the game itself is fiction. You have to figure out who likes you. And while Dylan is based off a real person, he's still technically fiction. Like, that kid probably just stood in front of a backdrop, took a photo, and left. Meaning, it's like falling in love with George Lopez solely because you saw the George Lopez show and you base everything you know about George Lopez from that show. When that probably isn't how he is in real life. He's not married to Constance Marie. To make matters worse, Roger goes through the effort of traveling to find the real-life Dylan, and discovers, much to his shock, oh my goodness, real-life Dylan is nothing like board game Dylan. He's older, he has gray hair, and he doesn't like pizza nor the mall. The heck? I say this as somebody who likes both of those things.
I'm beginning to get the distinct impression, Dylan, that you are a liar.
Well, I wouldn't exactly call it lying, but for starters, my name's not actually Dylan.
So Roger, filled with disappointment, does something terrible. Something involving a jar. And I say something because I legitimately don't know what he did, and neither does the episode.
Why is there blood on the dream phone?
He likes malls and pizza and me.
What's in this jar?
Dylan was being bad. And now we have the jar.
See, this is why you don't form parasocial relationships with celebrities. You end up with disappointment and a jar. Hopefully he doesn't put Rainbow Dash in the jar, but okay.
What have I done? What do I do? What would Meredith do? Of course. The answer's right in front of me.
I did try as little as possible to include personas, but it's hilarious that this episode is about him confronting the idea of his personas, so I guess I'm allowed to include it. Roger meets a woman named Meredith, who is a well-put-together philanthropist who makes him feel inadequate.
Thank you. Oh, I just adore the service here. Can I trouble you for a glass of water?
Wow, Roger is really insecure. Good thing I am totally not like that. Laugh, goddamn you. Roger starts to have an existential crisis involving his many personas, but Meredith seems to help and tells him he can be anybody he wants to be, so he decides to become her. Slowly and slowly and slowly.
Roger, what the hell did you do? Where's Meredith?
Francine, everything's fine now. I put her on a barge, and now I'm her.
Well, I mean, imitation is the sweetest form of flattery. He takes over her job, her husband, her life. He even sends her to a barge. That way she can't stop him. And then sends Francine when he starts giving her lip. It's all super creepy. Arguably, one reason Roger is so popular is because many of his antics are cartoonish and they're not really meant to be taken seriously. But stalking somebody to take over their life, I could weirdly see this happening, especially among psychos. So yes, it earns a spot.
Explain these foster thingies.
You know, wayward children taken in by families.
When you say wayward, I hear eager. And when you say children, I hear migrant workers.
Don't think I've talked about this one yet. Wow, we're doing a lot this time around. In Tears of a Clooney, Stan and Francine travel to Europe for a year in order to destroy George Clooney, and they leave Roger in charge of the kids. With them gone, Roger has free reign to do whatever the heck he wants, so he decides to open up a vineyard by filling the pool with dirt. Oh, he's already betraying their trust. Imagine their reactions when they get home. Unfortunately, a vineyard actually requires a ton of work, aka work that Roger won't do, therefore he tends to it via foster children child labor. As in, he takes in foster children and forces them to work for free over the course of a year, likely all day with little to no rest. And he takes in enough that he could probably open up his own orphanage. His children work rain, shine, sleet, hail, and they're in Virginia, so it gets to be really, really cold. He's such an abusive father, and to make matters worse, he ropes Steve into this little venture and rewards him by giving him 2 girls his own age to basically do whatever the frick he wants with them.
We'd all like to scratch our nose, Curtis.
Ew, Steve, you're such a creep. No wonder no girl likes you. And he would rather do this than actually care for Haley, who is currently suffering with what I assume to be terminal cancer. I mean, her hair does fall out. On the bright side, at least she beats the cancer and decides to celebrate by calling typhus on Roger. So he gets his children taken away, and Steve gets to reenact the Jabba scene from Star Wars by being the Jabba.
I let you kiss each other while I watched, and this is how you repay me?
That's what you get. At least the wine sucked.
My babies! Who's gonna stomp on my babies? Oh, this is swell.
He can't even get joy out of that. It's fermented. Lo mismo. Salty with tears.
Hey, sleepyhead.
Why would they let you in here?
I gave birth to my daughters here. I feel really bad about what I did. I haven't slept in 7 hours, not counting naps.
I think it goes without saying that Roger is weirdly incestuous towards the Smiths, and Haley is no exception. Yes, they're not related by blood, but he's basically been with them for so long and been through so much, they're basically his family. Roger hears Haley singing one day, right when he's going to open up a new lounge act, and he walks in on her in the shower to ask her to perform. The thing is, well, at the beginning of the episode, he read her the riot act because she happened to eat his potato bread. As far as he knew.
Roger,
Wait. No. How dare you?
And he also says he has countless cameras scattered across the house so he can observe everybody like a pervert, especially in the bathroom.
It's nothing I haven't seen before.
I have questions. He allows Haley to perform, but during her performance, Roger falls in love with her and starts acting weirdly adorable, I hate to say.
The same way that hot dogs for dinner is a sign that mom's overwhelmed by her period.
Are you kidding me? You think I have a crush on Haley?
The thing is, and I want this to be obvious, well, Roger isn't truly in love with Haley. As Steve says, he basically has a puppy love crush, meaning it's eventually gonna fade. But nothing Roger does is able to get her off his mind, so he just comes out and says it, which good on him, but Haley is also married. And again, she's known Roger since she was a little girl, so there's probably no way in heck she would ever reciprocate, even if Jeff wasn't in the picture. Roger panics and shoots Haley in cold blood.
Steve, I freaked out!
Then gets to go to the hospital to give Haley the gift of Christina Aguilera's larynx.
I don't want your stupid gift.
I'll open it for you. It's Christina Aguilera's larynx!
Ew, I have questions. But while you're at it, could you get me the thing in Alex Brightman's throat that mutated him to be able to do the Beetlejuice Fizzarolli voice? I mean, Roger, how could you? Haley tries to explain to Roger that people who are in love don't shoot each other, they want to be near each other. So he kidnaps Haley and ties her to a bed at the Lanston Ice Factory, but he doesn't feel close enough to her. Which means Roger decides the next logical step is to...
I'm gonna cut off your skin and drape it all over my body!
Help!
Oh, I'm gonna go get my tools!
Roger, why can't it be the other way around? Maybe Haley is screaming because she wants to cut off your skin and drape it all over her body. Did you ever think of that? I mean, the Scarlet Getter revealed you could actually survive for a little while if you don't have all your organs. But no, you just have to be selfish. Keep in mind that Haley isn't an alien, meaning this will almost certainly kill her. Jeff pleads with Roger not to do it, and Haley further reiterates that she'll never love Roger the same way she loves Jeff. But while he does respect Haley's wishes, he decides he doesn't want her skin anymore. He wants Jeff's skin for some reason, I guess because then he thinks Haley will love him? Like, what the f—
Let's go try that weird skiing that's like this.
Remind me to never take this hat off. I got everything held together up there with a chip clip.
Oh, and to add insult to injury, pun not intended, Roger realizes, oh my goodness, he was never truly in love with Haley. It was a schoolgirl crush. What? Who could have thunk? Meaning that Jeff got skinned alive for nothing, Haley got fired for nothing, and also got shot for nothing, and Christina Aguilera lost the ability to speak or sing for nothing. Just so y'all can keep track, okay?
Hey, Jeff, good news! You're getting your skin back! Gross. Whoa! I was paralyzed for like 10 seconds. I couldn't move. Did anyone else see that? I thought I had a stroke.
Roger, I would appreciate your comedy, keyword here being would, but when I'm on a plane, my first thought is to sleep as long as possible, because I hate being on a plane, I hate loud people, I hate how whenever I sit next to a guy, he always manspreads, I hate babies, I hate being on a plane, okay? I mean, it's fun if they have a TV, but American Airlines didn't last time I went on there, so it was kind of like, what's the point? So you making stupid jokes will kind of inhibit my plan to sleep for as long as possible to make the flight go quicker. Like, honestly, I'll purposefully take early morning flights and then pull an all-nighter. That way I'll just sleep straight on the plane and only wake up a couple of times. And I am very sensitive to noise, Roger, so stop making jokes. I need to focus on my sleep. In a whole slot of love, Roger gets a job as a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines, primarily so he can tell jokes, since there's not a comedy club near Langley Falls. Like, they're right next to DC, I actually know a couple. Unfortunately, Roger can't get a single soul to laugh because his jokes are really stale.
Time to put away laptops, tablets, and mobile devices, but if you've still got a BlackBerry, keep that out, because I'll be coming around with a trash bag real soon.
I thought the BlackBerry one was funny, though. So he invites Steve, Haley, and Jeff, well, more like forces, to come act as his fangirls via violence.
Was met with resistance. So how about it? Are we all going to Fort Worth via Buffalo?
Let him go!
Okay, I'm checking in now!
Violence gets results. It's not bad. Violins are bad. That screechy music is gonna ruin the goddamn country. See, Roger? That's funny. Of course, because Roger keeps trying too hard, his jokes keep bombing. Now, speaking from experience, the key to good comedy is to let it flow naturally. Just don't try so hard. Or if your comedy is stale, make a joke about that. To make matters worse, his terrible several jokes are always hijacked by another flight attendant who uses it to improve her own comedy.
That's the only crash landing we experienced today. We'll be touching down in Fort Worth soon.
Even if I don't think she's doing it to be vindictive. So out of jealousy, Roger decides to kill everybody on board, via causing a total engine failure, just because they wouldn't laugh at his stupid jokes.
Start an uncontainable fire! And for my closing joke, a 30,000-foot drop to your death. Thank you, you're a wonderful audience.
And keep in mind, he's doing this likely while Jeff, Haley, and Steve are likely on board, and he did not give anybody but himself parachutes. Thankfully, Roger didn't take into account that the plane was currently landing, or that, as a cartoon, American Dad can ignore the fact that it takes like 10 minutes to taxi to the gate, so everybody survives. Well, this is one of those times where Roger does get karma. In a way, it really isn't. Yes, Roger does fall from the plane and gets run over like a Looney Tunes character, but this stunt finally gets everybody to laugh at him, and since all he wanted was to be laughed at, he considers this an absolute win.
They're all laughing. Oh, I see a white light.
I mean, whatever you want to call it, bro.
Gonna get more creative. Nothing set in stone. They're rare eating scorpions, and they cost me $2,000 each. But then I'm not very good with money, am I, Haley?
Okay, I'll be honest, I do love this episode, but yeah, once I start looking at it analytically, I have some problems with it. Roger's birthday is coming up, and he wants a roast, which is basically where people crack jokes at your expense. But the thing is, it's all in good fun. Roger wants one, and keep in mind, he insists he knows what a roast is, and he also provides an example.
Roger, do you even know what a roast is?
Of course I do. I was a member of the Friars Club in the 60s. Good-natured. Oh no, don't you dare go light on me.
Meaning, yes, he knows damn well what they are. He insists the Smiths don't hold back. What could possibly go wrong? Anyhow, the roast goes ahead, and as expected, Roger is mortified and pulls a Tammy Faye. But that's not bad enough. See, because of the roast, Roger was inspired to turn his life around, even if, as the Smiths say, they didn't really mean it to be cruel, they were just joking like he told them. But it seems like somebody is trying to kill them via explosions, shootings, the cutting of car brakes, and rare butthole-eating scorpions. Of course, yes, it's Roger. Why is he trying to kill the family? Because they roasted him, even after he said he knew what a roast was, and he insisted they not hold back.
You guys all got up and insulted me in the meanest way possible, and you were all laughing!
Yeah, that's a roast.
Roger!
It's too late! A switch went off inside me that night.
Look, I do like the episode mostly because of the jokes, but yeah, not his finest moment. Normally, when Roger gets revenge, it's because he was wronged, or wronged as far as he knew. And he wasn't really wronged here when you think about it, even from his perspective. I'd rather it be something like it was a dramatic irony, like he wants a roast because he thinks it's, say, getting tied to a spit and then, like, roasted alive or, like, burned at the stake or something. And he gets mad when he finds out what a roast really is. Or maybe he just wanted like a rump roast or some ham. But no, he knew full well. Like, I'm sorry I keep repeating myself, but like, he knew. So like, you can't get upset, dude. The Smiths go through many lengths to get away from Roger, from putting him into an escapable prison, which he easily escapes from, to going into space for a year. And none of it works. And when they're in space, well, Roger kidnaps them one by one so they can roast each other. Plus, I think he also assaults Dan, considering the underwear. Of course, they all take it in good fun, and Roger reveals the real reason he did it.
You don't consider yourself part of this family, do you?
No, because I'm not.
Are you kidding me? We tried to throw you a bowling party? We did the roast you wanted?
Shaking my head, no. Do I really need to repeat myself? Roger, I would roast you, but I'm scared.
Who's lost their edge now, you perv?
That poor, confident little girl.
Fun fact, random strangers are not the only victims of Roger. The Smiths can be too. Ever heard about the term missing white woman syndrome? Well, American Dad touched on it with Bonnie Ramirez. One day, out of the blue, Francine makes a really bad remark. She tells Roger,
"You've clearly lost something."
I haven't lost anything, and I'll prove it to you.
Oh no, how terrible. Oh, how could you, Franny? But Roger seems to take this in stride and goes with Francine to the park, dressed as a little beauty pageant girl named Bonnie Ramirez.
Yes, it is me, little Bonnie Ramirez. Someone please free me from this monster. Decided to dust off an old chestnut to teach you a lesson.
As Bonnie, he lies and tells the police that Francine kidnapped him and kept him trapped and tortured for years. Oh well, Roger could just get Francine out of it via his lawyer persona. But I mean, he did lose his edge per Francine, so he purposefully bombs everything and gets Francine arrested and the book thrown at her. But again, let's move on to the next topic. While this was going on, the Smiths are going on a cruise, and with Francine in the slammer, they decide to take Isabella, aka the woman who starred as her in the reenactment, not the mom lady who feeds children to demon kids. Isabella is a super nice woman that wants nothing more than to be there for the Smiths in their time of need, and she's not trying to date Stan or something. She just wants to be a good person. Roger is still feeling blah, so Isabella suggests he be selfless and go visit Francine. But as it turns out, this was all a part of his plan. Using his super speed, he switches Francine and Isabella gets put in prison to serve Francine's 4 life sentences.
How did I get in this? What's going on?
Time's up. Come on.
No! I didn't do anything!
While Francine gets to go home and live with the guilt that she made a stupid remark towards Roger, and an innocent woman is paying the price for it. Say what you want about Roger getting revenge. Isabella did nothing wrong. She was basically just a pawn to him. Plus, it gets worse when you remember that Roger did not have an actual blah face. He purposefully did all this to get back at Francine. So he knew full well what he was doing, holy crap. Oh, and he didn't learn to not be spiteful, or that he basically got lucky, since at the episode's end, he tries to throw Steve off a building just because he made another catty remark.
You're not sensitive! You're just telling me what I want to hear because you're desperate.
No! I'm desperate!
You swear!
Funny, but yeah.
Oh my god, is that on the inside or the outside? Oh, it's on the outside.
Don't get me wrong, those kids were jerks and they did deserve some karma, but I don't think Dev should have been factored into the equation. Nor the fact that in order to kill those few kids, he also caused death for total strangers. Roger starts a limo driving business pre-Uber, and his first customers are a bunch of rowdy frat boys. I bet they do the elephant walks. They're rude and nasty, but all Roger asks for is $20. Really, after all that, imagine how small a tip that would be. And it's not $20 per person, it's implicitly $20 for the whole group. Unfortunately, Roger gets stiff, so he decides in revenge to kill them all. Wait, what? I get it, they're annoying and I would hate those guys, but I don't think that killing them is warranted.
You're really gonna kill 5 people over $20?
Are you really asking that to the guy who just last week killed 6 people over $19?
Yes, I do. To this end, Roger tracks all of them down and kills them Final Destination style one by one, running them over with a limo no matter how improbable or illogical. Which is pretty funny, especially when he's somehow able to fit the limo into a bathroom stall, until finally he takes care of his last victim by running him down while he's on a plane, which he was on to escape Roger. Which of course means he blows the plane up and kills everybody on board. Of course, a few people do survive, but...
Can we go home now? Roger!
I'm sorry, I got the bloodlust. Eventually I'll get bored with it.
Well, this and the fact that Stan tries to sleep with his own son that episode really paints a weird picture for the Smiths, am I right? Dang, everybody's weird here.
Oh, I haven't seen them in ages. Not since the blast. I'm coming with... Wait, is Steve gonna be there?
I pray to God that he is.
I still owe him $60.
Well, I guess at least he apologized, even if it's like putting a band-aid on a stab wound. The 200 is, as the name suggests, American Dad's 200 episode in production order, not airing order. I mean, Lost in Space isn't the 150th in airing order, that's actually the full redaction of Avery Bullock. But the crux of the episode is that an apocalyptic blast destroyed most of the world, and turned the rest of it into a nuclear wasteland that's full of cannibals. The world is plagued by an unknown beast known known as the 200, which moves from town to town like a swarm of locusts, destroying everything and killing everybody in their path. Roger, who has become a spoon collector, claims there is no 200. He just made them up in order to raid goods.
I just walk around, do a creepy wah wah, the 200 are coming. They scatter, I get the stuff. It's mostly tin plates, a lot of spoons.
But as the ending reveals, no, they're 100% real. In the before four, Roger attended a field trip at a Hadron Collider, and he wandered inside to pick up his sunglasses, which is already bad news, but then he also farted. And this caused his personas to take on their own lives and go haywire, meaning that Roger is the one responsible for the world ending, which includes countless, if not millions of deaths and destruction, just for a pair of sunglasses.
I apologize, everyone. I'm the one who ended the world. Save these babies, though. Oh, damn it, there's a crack in them.
That's what you get, Roger. That's what you get. Now we have to start all over because of you. I guess when we finally rebuild Hadron Colliders, you won't be allowed within 50 feet of them.
Don't let Roger in a Hadron Collider.
I need to be watched very closely.
There is love in the world. And you should know, 'cause you had it!
Yeah, this is probably the main reason I don't like the episode Fellow Traveler. I guess it's okay as a backdoor pilot, but I dislike how Roger acts. The reason Roger is on Earth in the first place is because he was sent there as a crash test dummy to test out a new safety feature for his planet's spaceship. But he didn't know that, and he assumed he was the decider, who was meant to decide if the people of Earth deserve to continue to live. But you have to wonder why. Well, Lost in Space kind of explains, or at least the fandom has decided it explains. Roger used to date the emperor of his home planet named Zing, but one day he cheated on him, like in a super impersonal and kind of jerky way, like they were just casually hanging out, and then he goes out of the bathroom and he's like, Roger, what are you doing?
Roger!
Oh my god, okay, wow, can we please be grown-ups about this? Because I can't.
Ew. Actually, maybe Zing was so distraught that he sent Roger to Earth on purpose. After all, Roger seemed to be sleeping with a human, or an alien who looks human, but I imagine the former is more likely. And by the note they left, he fully expected Roger to die. But Roger cheating on Zing actually had major consequences for his people, that you kind of have to wow. Zing tried to become a shopaholic to deal with the heartbreak, but when that didn't work, he waged a war against love. To this end, he convinced his subjects that love doesn't exist, and they should only live for hedonistic pleasures.
Love? Ha! There's no such thing as love. It's just a pathetic notion that you lesser life forms cling to so you don't feel so alone.
Which again gives horrible implications for what life is now like on Roger's home planet. And remember, to Roger, 60 years is like nothing. And he also made a giant shopping mall ship. To staff the mall, he kidnaps people from other planets to act as his slaves, and forces them to work in stores based on their home planets. Like Chef and Sinbad have to work at a shawarma stand because that's the one thing Emperor Zing loves the most about Earth. But to act like he's benevolent, well, he allows his slaves to take the test of love, where if they can prove they were taken from somebody they love, they can go home, but if they fail, they lose their tools for love and get smoothed, which gives me questions like what if you're a woman or an AFAB, but okay. To prove the gays, he uses the Majestic, an alien which can peer into memories and show them to people, and tells them that if he doesn't only show the bad memories, he'll kill him. And keep in mind, Zing does all of this just because he was dumped. Roger, really? You basically ruined everybody's lives.